This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Short Stories, Three's a Crowd, Part 1. When AJ landed the private plane on the private airstrip in the Dominican Republic, on board was Benjamin Woodrow Stevens Jr., known in the streets as Big Wood, by his family as Lil Dro, and by most other people as Woody, a finisher for the notorious Five Families. Stephanie Spencer Taylor, newly discovered member of the Lopez family, who has her eyes on becoming the queen pin, and her best friend / right-hand woman, Tru Joy Burton. AJ said, Steph, we're going to be on the ground for about an hour, and then we can head to Puerto Rico. Stephanie had just given birth. She induced her own labor the night before, delivered a healthy baby girl that morning thanks to her sister Angela's intervention, and was quickly rushed to the hospital to be checked out. Both her and baby were fine, but the hospital wanted to keep them both for observation. Stephanie had lost a lot of blood, so she hadn't gotten the all clear from her OB, and her daughter was delivered with her cord around her neck. So the neonatal doctors were just trying to ensure that she was sufficiently oxygenated. So instead of being on a plane to Puerto Rico, Stephanie was supposed to be in the hospital with her baby. As is always the case, though, Stephanie was listening when Angela was discussing plans with her husband Q to fly her husband Corey, who was in Denver at a church convention because he's a pastor, and Woody and Tru, who were on Woody's family vacation, also in Denver, back to Dallas, and then put Woody and Tru on a plane to the Dominican Republic. Woody has been training Tru in the ways of a finisher, and in exchange for taking her with him to the DR, she agreed to be his +1 on his family vacation in an attempt to get his mother off his back in relation to his romantic life. His mother, Miss Charlotte, is hell-bent on seeing her son, her only son, out of the life, settled down with a family of his own. So Tru's job was to pretend to be his girlfriend. The family vacation did not go as planned, and since it had already been interrupted by a car accident, Woody had no problem cutting it short and heading to the DR. When Woody, Tru, and Stephanie looked out the windows of the private plane, on the tarmac was a chauffeured car, and standing by the back seat was Salema, the daughter of the head of the Baptiste family. She was also a finisher, but she was also in training and vying for the position of queen pin for her own family. And she was the first cousin of Quincy Anders St. James IV, also known as Q, Woody's best friend and his plug to the notorious Five Families. Woody had known Salema since she was a little girl, and in the recent past, they had a brief fling that left them both having to decide what they would do with their relationship and how they would proceed with their business. In the end, Salema chose for them both, and she chose to continue pursuing becoming the head of the Baptiste family. They'd run into one another from time to time, and there was no love lost, and there was no beef either. But Woody was very interested in pursuing something with Tru. Initially, he just wanted to tap that. He'd had it once, and he wanted it again. But after their almost weekend in Denver, having had the opportunity to actually get to know one another better and more intimately, Woody was feeling Lil Tru. 6'5", 250+ pounds of pure muscle, Big Wood and Tru Joy made an interesting pair. He was dark as the night and she was virtually see-through. A 5'2" stacked beauty with Creole features, light eyes, long hair, a quick wit, and crazy bedroom skills. He'd also shown that she could handle her own, no matter the size of the person or the gender. He'd seen her in action, and even that turned him on. On Tru's part, she hadn't met a man since her high school sweetheart, who she really wanted to have a relationship with. She'd been taking men on test drives and not committing to the purchase for more than a decade, and she didn't see any reason to change that now. She was focused and on a mission to learn everything that she could so that she could back up her best friend, Stephanie, on her road to becoming the queen pin of the Lopez family. But like Woody, the trip to Denver had her seeing him a little bit differently. While she did not recall their one and only sexual experience, her kitty purred when he got too close, licked his lips, or whispered in her ear. Seeing him with his 3-month-old nephew made her ovaries jump a little bit. But she was trained to ignore her own feelings and her own preferences, so her game face was on and Woody couldn't tell. He had his suspicions, though. So when Stephanie said, Y'all, tell Salema to get on this plane so I can holler at her real quick. I'm in pain and I don't want to do too much between here and Puerto Rico. Tru said, that's why you should have stayed your behind at that hospital. I heard what you said, but I don't understand your thought pattern. On the flight to the DR, Stephanie told Tru and Woody that her Uncle Manny said that the only way that she would be able to succeed him in the family was if she was happily married and her husband was on board. She couldn't put in any work while she was pregnant, and she couldn't lead the family as a single mother. So, in her mind, she could deliver the baby, leave the baby with Corey, and between Corey, her sister Angela, Mom Brenda, Angela's mother-in-law from her first marriage, and the rest of the family, both Corey and the baby would be perfectly fine. And she could go off and pursue her dreams of being the queen pin. When Woody asked if Corey would be in support of that, Stephanie said he'll be in support of me doing whatever's gonna make me happy. And he certainly won't try to hold on to me or make me stay around. I'm sure he's very much so pissed off at the stunt that I pulled. When Tru asked how she could just leave her baby there, Stephanie said she was fine. She had a clean bill of health. Tru said, I'm not talking about her health, Stephanie. That's your child. Stephanie said, it's not like I'm never coming back. And it's not like she need me for something. She a baby. They can feed her. I told Corey I wasn't breastfeeding. Tru and Woody just looked at each other. There was no need to try to explain to Stephanie how she should feel, because she didn't. As Woody and Tru went to deboard, Woody contemplated whether he should tell Tru that the woman waiting outside for them was the very woman he told her about late the previous night. But he decided against it, thinking that since he and Tru weren't in a relationship, he wasn't obligated to forewarn her before she met somebody that he used to bed. He'd just wait and see how it all played out. Typical man. When Woody and Tru approached, Woody said, I didn't know you was going to be the one picking us up. Salema said, oh, I wasn't going to miss this opportunity for anything in the world. How you been, Big Wood? Woody said, I can't complain. How you been, Slim? Woody had been calling Salema Slim since she was a gangly, tall, teenage girl. Salema wasn't just tall and slim. She was bad to the bone, model fine. Her Trinidadian roots gave her an Indian complexion, jet black wavy hair that she kept cut in a shoulder-length bob. Her features were a mix of her father Samuel's Afro-Asian features and features that she had to have inherited from her unnamed mother that gave her a Latina quality. Salema said, I've been doing good, Wood. I came to pick you up because I thought you and I could chop it up on the way to the safe house. I didn't know you was bringing company, though. Salema looked at Tru questioningly, and Woody said, this is true. She's in training, and after this trip, she should be released. Salema said, who's she gonna work for? When Woody went to answer, Tru said, she can answer for herself. How you doing, Salema? Stephanie's on the plane. She's headed to Puerto Rico. She asked that you get on the plane and have a conversation with her real quick. Salema said, Stephanie? Angela's little sister, Stephanie? Tru said, Stephanie Lopez. Confused, Salema was like, what? Salema had no clue that Angela and Stephanie were the nieces of Emmanuel Manny Lopez. While she'd gotten to know Angela over the years since Angela and Q had been an item, and she'd met Stephanie and liked her. Even within the families, there was no discussion about who was in or who was out. So in the same vein, Stephanie had no clue that Salema was a finisher for the Baptiste family. The only business that Angela or Stephanie knew that Salema was in was the hairstyling business. Her passion and cover was being a celebrity hairstylist in New York City. Her other activities were only revealed on a need-to-know basis. And up to that point, Stephanie had no need to know. As Salema headed to the plane, Woody and Tru got in the back seat of the car. Tru looked at Woody and said, that's her, huh? Woody said, yeah, but how'd you guess? Tru said, as soon as she started talking, your guard went up. And when you made the introductions, her guard went up too. Let her know that I'm not a threat to whatever it is that you two have going on. Woody said, I told you, that's over. Tru said, her body language tells me that she's not pleased with that fact. Woody said, and if she push up, what you want me to do, little mama? Tru said, what you mean, what do I want you to do? You grown and single. Do what you do. Because if I see something I like, I might push up too. And if the right one push up on me, I'm going to do what I do. Woody said, well, no matter what you do, I'm not doubling back. I don't even know what she on, but if that's what she want to talk about, It's a no-go. Meanwhile, on the plane, Salema said, Stephanie, last time I saw you, you was pregnant. What? Stephanie said, girl, yeah, I had the baby. Salema said, what did you have? Stephanie said, a little girl. But I don't have much time, and I'm sure that you three need to get going. I wanted to talk to you real quick. I don't know if you know, but my uncle is Manny Lopez. Shocked, Salema said, no, I did not know that. Did my cousin know that when he married Angela? Stephanie said, no. Well, he is looking to retire, and he's looking for a replacement, and I intend to be that replacement. I had no clue that you were in the life too. I'm not trying to get all in your business, but I got some questions. Salema said, shoot. When Stephanie finished running down her questions related to the Baptiste family's business and Salema's intentions, Salema said, my father's been grooming me to replace him in the family business since I was born. I am his only child. I've run into a small problem, though. Single people can't lead the families. I need to get married, and I can't marry just anybody. He has to be thoroughly and completely vetted. If he's not in the life, then he'll have to undergo trial by fire. And his whole family would also be under scrutiny. And while I've had quite a few men in my bed, I haven't had any in my life long term. My choice, not theirs. And the one man that I had an opportunity to take things to the next level with, I shut down. He also happens to be the only man that my father has ever approved of. So I either need to make things right with him or marry one of my father's lieutenants. Because I don't have 3 to 5 years to date and find a man who could handle this life, meet all the qualifications that the Notorious Five has, support my decision to run the families, and most importantly, lay pipe like I like. Stephanie said, let me guess. Is the man you're referring to Woody? Salema said, the one and only. Stephanie guffawed. She knew that her best friend Tru had taken Woody down, rode him hard and put him up wet, and had absolutely no recollection of the experience. She also knew that Woody was trying like hell to have that experience again. When she was done laughing, Stephanie said, listen, I mind my business when it's pertaining to other people's romantic endeavors. But that little one out there that just got in that car with Big Wood, that's my best friend. She's more like a sister. We've been riding since we were 6 years old. I'll put somebody in the dirt for her. I intend for her to be my right-hand woman. She's here because Wood is training her. And if at any point you feel like she or anybody connected to me is a hindrance or a threat to whatever you got going on, respect me enough as a woman who's pursuing the same interests as you are, who comes from a family that's been intermingled with yours for over 100 years, apparently, to come to me and let me handle it. Let me mediate, intervene, negotiate, and whatever else is necessary to make things right and keep the peace. Because that one out there might be small, but she about that life. I didn't choose her for nothing. And a conflict with her can go from bad to worse real fast. When Salema asked if Woody and Tru had something going on, Stephanie said, I didn't say that. I will say that Tru's not really the relationship type. But the same thing that your father sees in Big Wood, I see in him too. And I also see how he looks at my best friend. Our families have been doing square business, having one another's back, and running this thing together. And with me and you at the helm, I believe we can continue to do that. Bigger and better, because nobody does it like women do. My grandmother was the head of the Lopez family, and my aunt, who I never had the pleasure of meeting, was in line to replace her. Because of her untimely death, my Uncle Manny took that position. I'm trying to put the ball back in the female court again. And your Aunt Bella was at the helm of the Baptiste family, and her stepping down and choosing to be a wife and mother instead made room for your father to take the helm. So with you in position, you'll be putting the ball back into the women's court in your family. That means that you and I need to work together, and we need to do so well. Salema said, you make a good argument, and you're going to be a hell of a queen pin. I like how you said what you was saying without saying what you was saying, but you still said what you was saying. The two women laughed, and Salema said, and I respect that. And you, Stephanie. Truth be told, had you not said what you said, I would have definitely handled this situation a little differently than I plan to now. I felt a little chemistry between them two when Wood made the introductions. And I was just going to sabotage whatever they had going on put old girl in a bad situation and eliminate her as a possibility. When Stephanie raised an eyebrow, Salema said, listen, that's what I do. My father trained me well. I'm not the negotiator. Anybody and anything that opposes my plans, I eliminate. Apparently, that's one of my shortcomings. That's one of the reasons why it's required that the head of the families be married. Because marriage requires negotiation and communication skills. It requires that two people work together. Stephanie said, yeah. Tell me about it. Salema paused for a second because Stephanie was married. And if there was trouble in paradise, then Stephanie's chances of replacing her uncle were going to be slim to none. But Salema didn't think it was her place to say so. Instead, she said, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to tell Woody exactly what I'm on in front of your girl Tru. That way, we all on the same page. And he could take it or leave it, because I ain't begging no nigga. Not that I think that he would, but that way, he can't play with her either. If he on my team, then he on my team. If he on her team, then he on her team. Stephanie said, exactly. Because I'll take his head off. He played with my best friend. So, y'all was messing around before? Salema said, yeah. Stephanie said, what is hitting for, girl? Salema said, I don't kiss and tell. But let's just say, that man's a master surgeon with that thing. You hear me? Stephanie said, okay, big wood. Salema said, it's his world. And we all just trying to get a nut.